Welcome to T-Bone's Best of Roanoke show. Music, comedy, and conversation featuring HB, the Honey Badger.
Honey Badger don't care.
Now, on with the show.
This is Radio Free Roanoke, and this is episode 142, T-Bone's Best of Roanoke show. HB, grip your pillow tight, exit light, and enter the Fred man. Fred Holley, hello.
Hello, and thank you, T-Bone and HB, for your very gracious hospitality here. I'm talking to you from the Great American Southwest, where it's raining quite a bit. We're happy about that. So,
well, hey, great to have you, Fred, and another college football year.
That's right, and
yes,
you're going to grace us, Fred, with your 2022 college football Super Bowl. You ready to kick it off, Fred?
Let's kick it off.
All right.
I'm ready. The tee is on the right on the field there at the kicking spot, and then we'll lead off with number 25 in the Holley Super Bowl for 2022. It is none other than the Texas Longhorns. They're, of course, having their coach Steve Sarkisian, a well-traveled veteran coach, back for his second season there in Austin.
That's right.
They had a challenging year last year. Bounced around a little bit, went 5-7. But they have got a wealth of transfer and talent that have come in the door, and they are looking to have a major league step up this year. Of course, they will return quarterback Quinn Ewers. He's a transfer from Ohio State. He is going to be piloting the offense. They have of course, as you know, it's been well chronicled, the super recruit Arch Manning coming around.
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Futures.
Yeah, I look forward to watching him.
That should be interesting. They got tons of talent. The running back, Bijan Robinson's back. He's a workhorse. They got Jahleel Billingsley, transfer from Alabama, at the tight end spot. Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver. They're going to be tough. Don't be surprised, though. You won't hear the sad trombone played as many times this year by the band. They expect to play much better. But, boy, do they have a pretty tough opponent right off the bat. They're going to be meeting Alabama on September 10th in week 2. And that game is going to be a major league test of really what what they've been able to put together in the offseason. But don't be surprised if their opponents try to get under Steve Sarkisian's skin and hold up the beat Kansas signs again. That's what we're doing as soon as that happens. So we'll see what happens. We wish them well.
They did lose to Kansas last year, and that was a shocker.
Yeah.
Yes, they did, and so they don't have to leave the state of Texas on their schedule until October 22nd. I thought that was pretty important to notice that. And of course, as you know, Tim, and on the October 1st, they will be coming into Morgantown to see your beloved Mountaineers.
Oh. Well.
All right. Now, that was 25 Texas Longhorns. So.
And I stand corrected. That is a home game in Austin. I stand corrected. That is a home game in Austin. So that is a road game for the Mountaineers. But no doubt about it, that's going to be an interesting matchup, Tim. And then they do have to go to Kansas later in the season. We'll see what happens there.
That's right.
Okay.
We're going to hook those horns, Fred. Yeah. All right, who's at number 24?
We're moving up to number 24, and, of course, this is a familiar name in the top 25, maybe not recently, but certainly in the overall history. The University of Miami of Florida with their new head coach, they're debuting, Mario Cristobal, who is now considered to be a veteran coach. He's coming over, as you know, from Oregon. Miami went 7-5 last year, 5-3 in the ACC. Mario is a native son. If there was ever a story about this, he's coming back home. He was born in Miami. He played there in the area at the high schools and played college ball there. He was the assistant coach at the University of Miami. And he also head coached just a few miles to the west of downtown Miami at Florida International. So he's got a very strong resume there. He connects with the area very well.
Okay.
He will have Well, last season, he had quarterback. The season started with Derek King, and then it turned into the Tyler Van Dyke show, as we all know. And he is going to be the starter. Offensive line's got to get better. They're going to tighten that up. They've got some transfers. One, make that two transfers from your beloved Mountaineers, Akeem Mesidor, defensive tackle, and Darryl Porter, quarterback.
Yes, we're very aware of that, Fred. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. Now.
Yeah. Their biggest game, I think, right off the bat is going to be that September 17th affair at Texas A&M. And we'll find out exactly how well they put together a challenge for the Aggies over there, and that'll be in College Station.
All right, number 23.
Yes.
Number 23 is none other than the behemoth program, the Wisconsin Badgers. They return, of course, the head coach, Paul Chryst. He is 65-23 in his 8th season, a very, very veteran coach. They went 9-4 last year. They're the best program right now. It has the best program record without a college football playoff appearance. It's out there. If you look at the CFP era, they will return quarterback Graham Mertz. He's, they're a physical team always, traditionally in the lines. They've got some great running backs. They need to improve their third down conversion, cut down on turnovers. Their big games here are going to be certainly September 24th at the Horseshoe against Ohio State.
Right.
And then November 12th, they're coming into Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes, and then somewhere along the way they beat Michigan State in there on October 15th on the road. That's going to be a tough. Those 3 games will be tough, but this is a team that's well prepared. They're going to be tough. They're going to be very classic team. They're the Brute program they've always been.
All right. Number 22.
Number 22 would be a team that I have really been impressed with over the last several seasons. None other than the University of Kentucky Wildcats. Head coach Mark Stoops steps back in for his 10th season. Is this a football or a basketball school? Let me tell you why I'd ask that. They've had 2 10-win seasons in the last 4. They've won 4 consecutive bowl games.
Oh.
And they return. They will have a quarterback, a transfer from Penn State, Will Lewis, calling the shots on offense. Running back Chris Rodriguez is back. He's a workhorse at 1,400 yards last year. That is a team that can move the ball on the ground. They like to grind it out, but they don't mind throwing. Their defense will be adequate. They got a mix of young and veteran players. They're going to get tested, no doubt about it, of course, being in the SEC. But, even though they have to go to Florida on September 10th, they also have to go to Ole Miss on the 1st of October and Tennessee on the 29th of October. They don't play Bama, A&M, Auburn, LSU on this schedule, or Arkansas. And all 5 of those teams are solid teams. So if you're not playing those 5, that's not a bad draw.
Okay. Good.
Right.
It's set up nice for Kentucky. All right, number 21.
Number 21, and this is another team that's upstart. The University of Houston, head coached by, of course, Tim, you're very well aware, with Dana Holgerson. He's in his 4th season. He's 19-15 there, just think about it, Tim. One more year, once this season is over, and then Dana has a seat at the Power 5 conferences table at the Big 12. And so he just got to survive this season. A lot of folks are saying he could be the 2022 version of 2021 Cincinnati if things go really well.
Oh, dear, Fred. All right. That's shocking news. All right, number 20.
Number 20.
Number 20, we're moving up to none other than the team we just mentioned, the upstart team last year, the University of Cincinnati Bearcats, of course, head coached by very savvy Luke Fickell, who's in his 6th year. 13-win team last year, went to the college football playoff, as we all know. Bottom line here, teams like Wisconsin, Texas A&M, Southern Cal, Florida, Texas, Auburn, and Penn State have never played in the college football playoff yet, but he has. And that is saying something.
It is.
So
you're right.
He moves to the Big 12 course in 23. This could be a big year. He's got a ton of talent, and he's a very efficient coach with how he coaches his players. He gets back quite a few starters back on offense. He had the 10th best defense in the nation last year. The secondary is young. They could be a little vulnerable. We'll see. They do open September 3rd, none other than at the Razorbacks of Arkansas, another team looking to climb. Yep. So that should be a good game.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All right, next.
All right. Number 19.
Number 19, we have the University of Pittsburgh Panthers, otherwise affectionately known as Pitt, as you know, Tim. And, of course, they returned head coach Pat Narduzzi in his 8th year. They went 11-3 last year, and it was a magical year for him. They have a very well-known name who's a transfer coming in by the name of Keaton Slovis to replace, of course, Kenny Pickett. They have their offensive line returns 5 starters. That should be good news. They get their main wide receiver back, Jared Wayne. They have a lot of veterans on this team. So this is a team that could cause some trouble in the ACC. They do, of course, have that very important opening game versus West Virginia on none other than September 1st. Of course, those Hokies are looking forward to meeting them on the road on October 8th.
So let me ask you, let me get your opinion on this one, Fred. Historically, in the Fred Holley College Football Poll, has a team ranked number 19 to start the season ever lost their first game 77-3 and still end up being ranked at the end of the season?
Wow. Not to my knowledge.
Well, good. Then that means Pitt will be knocked out of the poll.
Yes.
And one last word on that prediction there, Fred. If you can't go to college, go to Pitt. All right, moving on, Fred.
18.
All right, we're going to move up to number 18, and here's another school that has really, I would say, has been an overachiever. The Wake Forest University Demon Deacons under Dave Clawson. What a tremendous job he's doing there. Even though his record is just 51-48 in 9 seasons, he won 11 games last year. One of the opposing coaches in the conference said Wake Forest shouldn't be winning a lot of football games, unquote. But let me tell you, this team, think about it. Northwestern a few years ago with Pat Fitzgerald, they got to the Big Ten championship game. Mm-hmm. They're one of the less prominent teams in the conference historically. They went to the championship game to Big Ten 2 times in 3 seasons, and they're a school that has 21,000 students and is internationally known. Wake, however, is only a student body of 7,600, and they just got to the ACC championship game. They've gone to bowl in 7 straight years. So, although this year they're going to be challenged, as we all know, their excellent, outstanding quarterback Sam Hartman is now out due to a non-football medical issue, and we're all hoping for his return. Michael Carew will take over and call the signals for this team. He's going to be the backup quarterback. They do have to play a home game against those Clemson Tigers on September 24th.
All right.
And go ahead.
I would add here, they do play an interesting intersectional cross-state matchup against Liberty. They host Liberty on September 17th. I thought that would be interesting to see just how, when you got Hugh Freeze standing on the other sideline, those games are never boring. So that would be interesting to see what happens in that one.
You're right, Fred. All right, who we got next?
17.
17?
Number 17 is the University of Arkansas Razorbacks, and of course head coach Sam Pittman. He's in his 3rd year already there. He's 12-11 overall there, but he won 9 games last year. Yeah, he lost 4 games, but he lost to Auburn, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Georgia. No shame there.
Wow.
And it was the first 9-win season for Arkansas since 2011. They're the number 1 rushing team in the Southeastern Conference. We don't expect that to drop off. Quarterback K.J. Jefferson will be the leader of that team. He became a star. He ran for 667 yards last year and still managed for 21 TDs. He had only 4 picks and a 67% completion percentage. He's back. So they just need to protect him better and tighten up the defense. They gave up well over 400 yards in 4 games, but they did a lot better than the year before. You're going to like this name. They have a linebacker by the name of Bumper Poole.
Yeah, Bumper Poole.
Wait a minute.
Yep. You'll hear more about him, I guess. And then, of course, they have some great transfers coming in. They will open, as we know, September 3rd versus Cincy. That's going to be an interesting game. Of course, September 24th, they get to take on Jimbo in Arlington over there at Texas A&M.
Sooie. All right, number 16.
16.
Number 16, we're moving over to another school that has been chomping at the bit to get in the middle of the SEC standings there and get near the top. It's none other than Lane Kiffin's led Ole Miss Rebels. And, he's been there 3 years already. I don't know where all this time goes so fast, but he's 15-8. Coach, he's been quoted recently as saying, and this is out in the media, so we all know about it, but he said, if unfettered college football free agency is kosher, let's go ahead and sit at the table and eat. And so that was his view of it when he was asked about it. Yeah. So they won, 10 games last year. They run a hurry-up offense, basically. They're going to have a new quarterback this year, a transfer from Southern Cal. You might remember the name Jackson Dart.
Yep.
Well, he's coming over to start for the Ole Miss Rebels. They have a lot of new parts in offense, and of course their defense. They're going to the 4-2-5. It's a more active defense. They were 97th defensively nationally last year. Had that tightened up, they probably would have won more than the 10 they won. They do have to meet Kentucky on October 1st at home. Then their biggest game is that October 29th affair down in College Station against none other than Jimbo and Texas A&M.
Right.
Okay.
Wow. All right. So we're on. Where are we? HB?
14?
14 or 15?
Yeah, that was number 16. Now we're moving up
to 15.
Number 15
All right.
in the rankings here, and that would be none other than North Carolina State. Head coach Dave Duran, he's hung in there 10 years there. He's 64-49 overall there. He won 9 games last year. They have the second most conference wins of any ACC program over the last 8 seasons. So he's done a pretty good job, and he's getting this program far along. And this could be his best team yet. Quarterback Devin Leary is back, and he is definitely out of the ACC shadow. And so no doubt about it, this is going to be a team that people want to keep our eyes on. They are going to make some noise. No doubt about it. He's got a veteran offensive line, 8 starters back. And right now, it looks like their big game, of course, the key game, October 1st at Clemson.
Okay. All right. That's 15. Now 14.
14.
14 would be none other than the University of Southern California, now led by, as you know, well-known and well-publicized head coach now Lincoln Riley has arrived in Southern California. That era is starting for that team. And, of any team in college football in this era, this city, this media market, that program, it's got to be USC in the NIL era. I mean, they have it. They have the market. They know how to do professional right, is what one of the opposing coaches once said about them.
Right.
They have added some players that are just amazing, and he's already drawn a whole slew of fantastic recruits and transfers. I can't even begin to go into any individuals, but you will see quarterback Caleb Williams, who had to improve quite a bit, over his performance last year. And now with Slovis and Dart gone, he's the man. And so we'll see what happens. They get this. They don't play Oregon and they don't play Washington, so their schedule's fortuitous. Their toughest game, I believe, technically, 2 tough games other than Notre Dame at the end of the season. They go to Stanford on September 10th. Stanford's always given them trouble in the past. And then at Utah, who is, of course, a behemoth this year. We'll learn more about them soon on October 15th.
All right. Very good. Right. So that brings us to 13.
That brings us to 13, and none other than the Fighting Ducks of the University of Oregon, led by now head coach Dan Lanning, who's in his first year. If that name sounds familiar, he's never been a head coach before, but you might remember he coached that NFL caliber Georgia defense that basically had most of it go to the NFL and are playing on Sundays. So he got his chance, and he's stepping into Eugene with a whole bunch of work to do. The big thing, and opposing coaches, what they say about him is Oregon's program's got to stop losing that 1 or 2 games every year they shouldn't lose. I mean, they have talent. Big boys at other programs, they might lose 1 game here or there, but if you want to be at that CFP level, 2 is the death knell. It's over. So they had plenty of examples of doing that, but I think this year they got an opportunity. Since 2015, unfortunately, the Ducks have not had one loss. They have had one loss, at least one loss to a team that finished with a losing record. And the only exception was 19, and that year they lost to ASU. So just to let you know, this is a team that's got to overcome those games where you have that one-off game and you got to play a little harder to get over the hump. They will, of course, open against Georgia and Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Dome down there on September 3rd.
Interesting. All right. 12.
Number 12.
Number 12. We're looking at the Spartans of Michigan State. And, of course, head coach Mel Tucker. And, of course, in his second season, he had a magical year last year, won 11 games, beat Michigan in his second year. It's a second year in a row he's beaten Michigan. Then, of course, he then beat Penn State. And then, of course, he beat Pitt in Chick-fil-A Bowl. But what a difference a year makes. I mean, this team has turned the corner. They do have to play some pretty tough folks. They got a quarterback, Peyton Thorne. He's had a strong season last year, 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns. He'll be throwing to Jaden Reed. They do have to open September 10th, and this is possibly a trap game at Brigham Young. Not an easy place to play in Provo. They're pretty spirited up there. So we'll see what happens. And then, of course, they do have the wonderful opportunity of rolling into Mountaineer Land on October 13th.
What? Oh, they do?
I take it back. I'm so sorry. I will say that they do play Ohio State on October 8th, and they do meet Wisconsin at home as well on October 15th. So scratch what I just mentioned there.
Good. Yeah,
they do have to play at Michigan and Penn State, so this schedule will have its challenges.
Okay.
And so we'll see how they turn out.
All right, number 11.
Yes.
Number 11 on my list is none other than the Baylor Bears under head coach Dave Aranda, who went from 2-7-20 to a 12-2 season last year. I mean, that is just amazing. First ever 12-win season for the Baylor Bears in their history, and a Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl victory. And they have quarterback Blake Shapen. Opposing coach once said, "Go ahead, you can underestimate Baylor at your own risk." And so this is a team that you just want to come out and play straight up honest. They also have to travel to, like I mentioned, they go to BYU on September 10th, and they do have to play in Morgantown.
Yes.
They'll have that opportunity on October 13th, so we'll reinsert their name in that slot.
There you go.
Okay.
We're going to have a bear trap waiting for them. All right, so we get ready to enter the top 10, Fred. Last year I asked you who was your top Heisman contender, and I was actually very pleased you picked Brock Purdy from Iowa State, the quarterback. It didn't work out for Brock, but I thought that was a courageous pick. But who would you see as your Heisman hopeful this year, your Heisman contender?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be, and this is the way I think it's just going to work out. I think it's going to be, you have Bryce Young at Alabama, right?
Right.
And then, of course, Ohio State, with their quarterback, and you look at what C.J. Stroud is capable of doing.
Yes.
And I know Bryce has already done it, you see. And so I think really and truly this could be C.J. Stroud's year.
Okay.
All right.
Ohio State.
In
Okay.
Buckeye Land.
All right.
So
Well,
we'll say C.J. Stroud. I've lost a lot of my courage, I'll be honest with you. I'm back up looking at the top.
going chalk now.
All right.
Number 10. We
Number
roll
10.
into the top
Let's
10.
Get through. Yeah.
We're here in the top 10, and we're staring at none other than Stillwater, Oklahoma, and the Oklahoma State Cowboys, head coached by veteran coach Mike Gundy in his 18th year. He's 149-69. He does return that everything quarterback Spencer Sanders, and of course a whole bunch of folks along with them. They've had 16 straight non-losing seasons, but they've gone 10 years since they won a conference title, and prior to that you have to go all the way back to 1948 when they won an outright league title. So this is going to be an interesting year. I know what their goals are. They just want to make those goals happen. They're going to possibly be an anchor tenant in the Big 12 once all the dust is settled, and so we'll see when Texas and Oklahoma leaves in 24.
All right.
Number 9.
Yeah.
Number 9, we have none other than their brethren right there in Norman, the University of Oklahoma, of course, now led by head coach Brent Venables. So he's one of my favorite coaches and, of course, coordinators ever in college football, right behind, of course, Bud Foster. I will say their offense coordinator, they got Jeff Lebby from Ole Miss. He's a good guy. So SEC, Ole Miss led the SEC into offense, and so I think that's going to help Oklahoma stabilize that offense. They have, of course, they have Dylan Gabriel. That might be a familiar name. He's coming over from the University of Central Florida Golden Knights. He's a great playmaker. Defense needs to tighten up, but they're going to be okay, I think, and they're going to have a good year. They won 11 games last year. They do have to play, of course, Texas as usual in Dallas on October 8th, the Red River rivalry. They also come to Morgantown on November 12th.
Oh, we got to beat them this year.
All right.
Number 8, Crazy
Number
8.
8.
Crazy 8 would be a school that has really, I think, lifted their profile here in the West, maybe not so much nationally, but definitely in the West. The University of Utah Utes, led by none other than Kyle Whittingham. He's in his 18th season there, 144 wins and 70 losses, pretty solid record. He is going to be starting quarterback Cameron Rising. They have he's a pretty solid guy, and they had Charlie Brewer for a while, but he transferred over to Liberty, and that's where he's going to be playing for Mr. Hugh Freeze. You'll see him pop up over there. So that'll be an interesting story to follow. They're known out here locally, and I say locally or regionally in the West as the Brute Utes, because they do have the most physical team in the Pac-10, and certainly under The last 3 or 4 years, they have produced that type of team. They're kind of a Wisconsin clone as it comes to that. So they, of course, have to open September 3rd at Florida. We'll see how they fare on that trip. That's a pretty long trip for those folks. And then they do have to, of course, they have a tricky game. They have a home game versus San Diego State on September 17th. That's a really well-coached program. And they do have some good players that could be nervous this time.
Right up.
All right.
Through that one.
Okay.
Lucky 7.
Lucky 7.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to number 7 on our list, and now we're up to
Quick it through here.
that coach that needs no introduction, formerly at Florida State, now at Texas A&M in his 5th year, Jimbo Fisher. And the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, if you look at them, they got to play Sam Houston in the opener. And Sam Houston, Tim, is a good FCS team. They have some talent. The Bearcats they're a dangerous team. And this is going to probably be a stressful game for Mr. Jimbo for at least a short period of time until his team regains their equilibrium. There's no Georgia on the schedule, but no Vandy either. They do get Florida at home. They get a week off before their road game in South Carolina against none other than Shane Beamer. I would say Haynes King is, it's going to be a very productive offensive quarterback for him. They have Max Johnson in the wings. This is, 6 different SEC programs have a natty.
Well,
and the BCS CFP era. So does Texas and Oklahoma, future members, by the way. But the Aggies are still hanging around in the lounge with Vandy and Ole Miss.
All right.
See what happens.
Well, let's bring it up to the Super 6 team in the Fred Holley poll.
That would be none other than the Clemson Tigers and, of course, well-known head coach Dabo Swinney. All right, Clemson didn't win a national championship last year. It didn't go to the CFP, and it didn't even win the ACC title.
Yeah.
However, the Tigers did win 10 games. They were good enough for the 11th straight season of double-digit victories, and I think that's worth mentioning because that's quite an accomplishment no matter when that happens. Despite being dead last in the ACC in passing efficiency on offense, second to last in total offense.
Wow.
Well, they were 100th in the nation on total offense. Sorry about that. Their quarterback is coming back, DJ Galilee, and of course he had 9 touchdown passes last year. The trouble is he had 10 picks, and that's what affected their offensive efficiency. If he does have a rough start, Cale Klubnik is in the wings to step in, a new recruit. They're high on him. We'll see what happens. There's certainly enough returning talent on both sides of the ball. This is an extremely good defense, well coached. They were number 1 in the ACC, number 8 nationally. Last year. They do have to play at Wake Forest, although that game probably won't be as challenging as it once would have been. And now they do have to play none other than NC State at home on October 1st. They go to South Bend on November 5th.
Good deal.
All right.
That brings us to 5.
Number
Fred.
5. We got to
Number 5.
roll them out.
Is Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They're starting the Marcus Freeman coaching era with a solid team that has some serious talent. Of course, Brian Kelly left over when he bolted to LSU. Freeman found himself as head coach for the bowl game, of which the Irish, of course, blew a 28-7 lead over, if you remember, Okie State. They lost 37-35, but they do get back quarterback Tyler Buckner. He does return running back Chris Tyree, a former player from my former high school, Thomas Dale, right there in Virginia. He is playing as a starting running back for multi-years now for Notre Dame. Tight end Michael Meyer, key part of the passing attack, 71 receptions. Majority of the D's back, they're going to be pretty tough. I mean, they're going to be all over the field. They have a new defensive coordinator, Al Golden. He was linebacker coach for 2 years at Cincinnati. They do have a toughie September 3rd to open with at the Horseshoe against Ohio State.
Oh,
All right, we're going to get to the nitty-gritty time.
He's going to be coaching against the team he played linebacker for. That's going to be interesting.
That'll be fun. All right, it's nitty-gritty time, Fred, the Final 4.
We're down to the Final 4. It is the Michigan Wolverines and head coach Jim Harbaugh. And they, of course, last year came up with 12 victories and sort of got the monkey off of his back temporarily, at least. He's going to have a solid year. He's got quarterback Cade McNamara back, and J.J. McCarthy will be his backup, and both those guys are well experienced. They're going to be good on the lines. They're probably here's going to be the challenge for Michigan. Looking at this situation, if they want to, the only thing they can do is move up and go to CFP based on what they did last year. But they're probably going to need to go into Columbus 11-0 and beat Ohio State on the road to get a CFP shot. I mean, that's bottom line.
Right.
They do open. They do open it against Colorado State. In this case, that should be an easy win. Then October 1st, they go to Iowa. And then, of course, they host Penn State on October 15th. And then, of course, that big game in the Horseshoe this year on November 26th against Ohio State.
There's 3 teams left, then there's 3 teams I have not heard you mention. So who's number 3?
Surprisingly for some folks, this number 3 team in the 2022 version of the Holley Super Bowl is none other than the defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs. Head coach Kirby Smart, of course, is there to lead the defending 2021 national champs. He had a 14-1 season last year, 66-15 overall in his 7th season. The expectations, of course, have jumped to that reasonably insane level for these guys as they got to hang out in the VIP lounge of the SEC of respect with Bama, Clemson, of course, with that Big Ten winner Ohio State some years ago, as well as special guest LSU there from 19. They did lose a ton of players to the pros, 15. Yeah. They have 5 first-rounders, though. They went to the NFL, pretty amazing. The D was pretty solid. The offense was efficient enough. I got to tell you, though, I really think this is a team that's going to, when it comes right down to it, they're going to be in the thick of it. They're going to have Stetson, of course. They're going to have their number 1 quarterback back, Stetson Bennett. He's not a top 10 quarterback on anybody's list, but when this team needed that one big drive against Alabama last year in the national championship game, he came through. And the D is stellar, and, of course, don't forget that cornerback led by secondary Kaylee Ringo, who had that winning pick 6 versus the Crimson Tide. So this is the team that's got the pieces back again. Other than Oregon and Atlanta on September 3rd, they don't draw Bama in the regular season, so that could be, of course, a nice miss for them.
Okay.
So
well, that leaves 2.
Number 2.
We're down to number 2, and that would be the Ohio State Buckeyes, of course. This team, of course, has always been sort of the bridesmaid in recent years, and never the bride. But, you know, they did have a bad break. Their running back, Evan Pryor, is out for the season with knee injury. He got hurt in practice back on the 13th, I think, of August. So they only have 3 healthy scholarship running backs. They'll need to work on that. But C.J. Stroud, I think, is still going to have a magnificent season. He led a record-breaking offense, number 1 in total offense, number 1 in scoring, number 2 on third down conversions, and number 3 passing.
Wow.
He has wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njoba coming back. He has Trevion Henderson at running back, Myron Williams at running back. This team has the talent. They just need to step up in this new 4-2-5 defensive alignment that they're going to do this year with Tommy Eichenberg and, of course, Steele Chambers. They're going to have to do better than they did last year in yielding 1,900 yards in the first 3 games combined, and then 1,000 in the last 2 combined. So that's really the story of their season last year. Even though they went 11-2, they can tighten up that defense and go a long way. They meet the Irish on November 3rd, and then, of course, they do go to the Horseshoe. They will be in the Horseshoe to host Wisconsin on September 24th.
Okay.
Well, you have not mentioned Virginia Tech, West Virginia yet. And there's only one slot left, so I'm very curious which one's going to fall in there.
And to end that very, very, let's just say, heavy mystery that's been going on this entire program, we'll just get it out of the way and say that it is that perennial, seemingly number 1, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Saban, 15 seasons, 6 natties, 2 chapters of domination in the SEC. The first 3 natties that he got, which would be through 2012, one opposing coach said Bama back then didn't so much beat you, but sat on your chest until the clock ran out on you.
All right, Fred. Well, you've picked Bama to win it all. As we get ready to let you go here, I've got one more question. Of those 3 teams I mentioned, UVA, Virginia Tech, WVU, in your mind this year, which one is most likely to somehow break into the top 25 at least 1 week this year? West Virginia, great pick. All right. Good job, Fred. I'm with you 100%. You've been...
Well, Tim, silence is truly golden.
All right.
This has been so much fun. Thank you, Fred.
Yes.
I can't wait for this season to start. It starts the 27th of August, and then the big stuff starts September 1st, and we'll just keep it rolling.
Yeah.
It sure does. And, hey, we wish Brent Pry, of course, Tony Elliott at UVA, a success this year. and of course in their new endeavors at their schools, it's a lot of excitement, I know, in the state of Virginia right now surrounding all that.
You got that right. All the best. They're going to do well.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, my man. You take care of Phoenix, Arizona for us.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Roll
You
them.
both stay safe.
Go get them.
Thank you, everybody.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Hey man, you gonna help me sing this thing again? You know it? Yeah. Well, let me hear you. Country road, why don't you take me home? Take it home. Oh, to the place I belong. Oh, West Virginia. West Virginia. Mountain mama. That's all right, son. Take me home. Get on home. Country road. Now put your hands together. Country road.